Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here. And as a lot of you know that have been following me this week, where we talked about on Mixed Martial Mindset with John Fitch, that there would be a live MMA event in Iowa back-to-back. We went last month to Caged Aggression. And, you know, it's refreshing to be able to be amongst people, watch live sports, promote athletes that are trying to make it during this madness of COVID. And midweek, actually probably like a couple days in, I think Monday or Tuesday, after the governor had announced these new restrictions, although pro sports, I was hoping, you know, since it had said they were going to be excluded, the event got canceled. Well, the man with me today who has founded Cage Aggression got this thing going again, and I got to thank you for that, man. Mike Goodwin is with us, and before we even get into the event, the back-to-back MMA, the fact these are top-tier guys, you know, I was very impressed with the caliber of fighters, a lot of young, hungry, in-shape fighters from other camps looking to get into Bellator, LFA, and of course the UFC as well, so you're doing them that service. How did you get started in promoting mixed martial arts, Mike?
It's actually a pretty cool story. First off, thanks for having me, man. I've been looking forward to this. So I want to say it's been now roughly 11 or 12 years ago. I had the opportunity to work for the IFL, the International Fight League. And I'm from the Midwest area here, so where Pat Miletich is from and kind of the heart of the wrestlers of MMA. And so I got the opportunity to work for IFL, but all I did was drive the fighters around and set up the ring. But I was kind of introduced to the sport on big production. And, you know, they flew me to, Chicago, North Carolina. I went to out in Connecticut. So being introduced to the sport in that magnitude was awesome. I'd run into guys like Randy Couture and Chuck Liddell, and I was pretty awestruck. So when they went out of business, I wanted to stay involved in the sport somehow. And I started going to some of the local shows in the area. And, you know, with all due respect, putting on any type of show like this is tough, but I just didn't see that same production value and presentation that I saw with the IFL. So I said, you know, why not try to emulate what they do on the big shows on TV, but at a local level, and start going into these gyms and filming these fighters and getting to know them a little bit more. And man, you know, 10 years later, here we are. You know, we've helped get guys in the UFC. We were on The Ultimate Fighter with one of our champions. And I think the thing just kind of snowballed because I'm not a manager. I'm not a coach. I never fought. I'm just truly a fan that likes to see it done from a fan's perspective. So if I bought a ticket, what would I want to see at the show?
Yeah, and it's a top caliber show, and I remember the IFL, and what was really unique is you had camps going against each other, and of course, legendary camps like the Lions Den were there, of course, Miletich Fighting Systems, the Gracies. In fact, I remember that's where Miletich fought Renzo Gracie, was in the IFL back in the day. So you've been promoting these things, you've been doing these back-to-back pay-per-views, and what I think is really important is you're having a crowd. You're fighting back. You're saying, look, there is no new normal. Before we even get going, I just want to make sure we didn't have any hospitalizations or deaths from the past month's events from 4 weeks ago, right? Because I was there. I'm pretty sure they're not dropping like flies, are they, Mike?
Yeah, it's tricky because, when this all started in March, we were 9 days away from what I arguably would say our largest event in 10 years. We were 9 days away, a 2-night event. And it got pulled, and ever since then, it's been kind of emotionally trying because I poured everything into this the last decade, and I love what I do, and the idea that we won't have events and crowds and all that stuff that, you know, my family, we live off of that. We love being at events and games and shows, and so everything's really crazy right now, but I was willing at all costs to do whatever they said to continue to do these events. So when they opened up in September and said, hey, you can do it, but you've got to go to 30% capacity. So instead of having, 2,500 people in here, we get, a third of that, if not less, masks and a lot of restrictions. But, I'm very invested into the fighters and into the sport and into the promotion. So I said, whatever we have to do to continue this thing, I'm in. And yeah, we followed all the protocols, and we did back-to-back 2-night events in September and October, with our third one coming up this weekend, and we truly had zero issues. I mean, no problems the first two events, which is very humbling. I try not to get in the political side because it drives my head crazy. So all I can say is we're doing everything we can to provide these opportunities for the fighters. We've been able to showcase over 100 fighters from 14 different states, giving them opportunities, giving their fans the opportunity to watch it on pay-per-view. I'm not sure if you know, but when this all went down, I said, how do we bridge the gap? These guys already don't make a lot of money. The promotions don't make a lot of money. So what do? So we built this pay-per-view platform where when you go to buy the pay-per-view, you can actually select the fighter's name that you're supporting, and they get a portion of those buys, which is incredible, man. We had 37 out of 40 fighters in the last show had buys under their name. So it shows that the fans are still willing to support. They just can't maybe make the long trip, or somebody they're with isn't comfortable with the crowds yet. So we're really trying to do everything to keep the thing going.
Yeah, and again, that's one of the really unique things about this. Number one, the UFC card, great this weekend, but how many pay-per-view buys is it really going to get at $70 with a 135 champ and Shevchenko, who should mop the floor with Maia? It's a fight night at best. And for the hardcores out there that want to support MMA, that want to support freedom, in my opinion, because again, this may be the last live pro sporting event in Iowa this year. Forget about MMA event, okay? You're doing it Friday and Saturday. I'm actually going to be covering the weigh-ins and streaming there a little later on today, which is awesome. And showing people, if you're in the Quad City area, even if you don't know these fighters individually, you're putting on 20 fights. Okay, so that's 40 fighters, and it's 10 fights each night. Once again, I want to reiterate, these are hungry young fighters. I went to, and I don't know if you know my story, but I recently moved here after traveling the country. Just happened to go through Iowa because I knew Pat through the podcast, and it was because I was watching the LFA on Fight Pass, and he said he was doing a live fight. Well, when I went to that live fight, much respect, it was great. It was my experience of the summer. Thousands of people having a great time together. Again, a super spreader event that didn't seem to spread anything. But,
sure.
But the caliber of fighter there, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's great to see Jeremy Horn making his boxing debut at 46. But obviously, a lot of these fighters, there was a few young guys in the very beginning, but the featured fighters, of course, were older. Right now, you're seeing people come up. Tell us about some of these young fighters that you're excited about during this event.
Yeah, I think that somebody told me a few years ago, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the way we present them with all the, the lights and the production value, and or if it's the matchup or the brand. I don't know, but whatever the secret is, it seems that I've watched these fighters compete in other shows. I've watched them, train. Something happens back in that locker room before they walk out on that platform when they fight for me, and there's something extra there. And whatever we're doing, I would love to know that magic, because they really do leave it all in the cage, whether it's their first fight, whether they're a UFC veteran trying to get back in there, whether they're right on the cusp. We had a gentleman in our last show, the main event. He won that fight, and he just got a 4-fight deal with the UFC. So those are the things I'm trying to do, is prepare these guys for the next level and for the bigger stages, and give them that extra exposure, because, I mean, that's what gets them noticed. It does take skill, but it also takes a little bit of getting your name into the right people's, a view. And it also takes the personality and fans. And when you have that whole package, and you've been at shows before you made it to the big show that prepare you for the cameras in your face and all that extra stuff, I think that by the time they get there, they're just comfortable.
Absolutely. And again, I can't commend you enough on the production quality. You can actually see what they're shooting out to the world up on a couple of the projectors up there. And you guys do a great job, you said, with the lighting, with the camera work, the walkouts, the cage. And again, if you get an opportunity, it's $35 general admission. I believe it's $75 for cage side. The first night I went, they were sold out of cage side by the time I got there. I got to do cage side the next night. But for under $100 to go see 20 live MMA fights where there's not only not a bad seat in the house, but folks, the first night I'm sitting in the general admission area. I'm by some fight camp. They're super nice to me. They're like, oh, you just tell them you're from this camp or whatever. You're a blue belt. I'm like, all right, buddy. But I'm sitting next to one of the guys that's featured, in one of the later bouts the next night. I believe it was the one out of Jackson Wink, and we're kind of talking about fights together. Unfortunately, it didn't go his way after that spinning back fist. But but it just shows you, you can be a part of this, and you can encourage this, and you can push back and have a great time at under $100 for the weekend. You can't get out of the bar one night for under $100 these days. So tell people about that and how the River Center has, allowed you to do this as well.
Well, I mean, the River Center, they've been our home in the Quad Cities ever since we moved over to this side of the river. We used to do shows in Illinois. In Iowa, they kind of welcomed us with open arms. The Athletic Commission's been incredible for us. But the River Center's been our home, but at the same time, they are owned by the city, and there's a lot of things going on right now and a lot of people in a position of power that are butting heads. I tip my hat off to them because they really went to battle with me to try to get this thing done safely. And, by the time we got to the governor's call, what I try to explain to people is this isn't, with all due respect, this isn't a dance competition. This isn't a music show. This is 40 athletes that have been preparing for months. They've been cutting weight all week. My team has been working their butt off to prepare a good production. Besides even the financial investment with everybody, it's just not a show that you can just postpone really, or that you can just cancel. The ripple effects run so deep that, we pleaded with them that, look, we will do whatever we have to do to let this happen. And we will do it safely, just like we have done the last 2 months. We've had no issues. And thankfully, we got the right people on our team because we were able to make it.
Excellent. We just lost him. Oh, that sucks. Well, there you are. You're
I'm back. Sorry.
Oh, no, that's fine. I was just about to say people need to follow you over at Mike Goodwin MMA. It's CAGEDaggression.tv. Tell people about the pay-per-view buy and how you watch it, because basically you can watch this on just about any game system through any browser. So if you're worried that you're not going to be able to do it unless you have a computer, there are many different options, even on your phone. I believe you just cut out again, but I'm sure he's going to be back. I believe the price is $24.99.
Yep, sorry about that.
No, that's all right, my man. We got you. Tell people about the pay-per-view and how important that is. And again, I'm encouraging you guys to get at least one night of this, especially if you're a sports fan, especially if you watch Mixed Martial Mindset, because this is how we are the great resistance to this attempted great reset and, rolling lockdowns. We can't just bow down and say everything is okay when these events have gone on, when other events of large people, whether they be celebrations for elections or protests, are never discussed as super spreader events. We need to really, look at ourselves and say, do we want a society where they tell us what to do, or do we want to encourage people that want more freedom and access to these type of things? So tell us about the pay-per-view.
Yeah, it's really cool, man. It's so much more than just a pay-per-view because everything's moving to the streaming world. And so we decided to go that route where virtually anywhere you can find a browser, you can watch the event in high definition, whether it's a phone, a tablet, a smart TV, a video game system, Fire Stick. I mean, you name it. It's pretty easy. And reading into some of the analytics in the past few shows, a big majority are purchased on their phone or on a tablet. And you can screencast it to your TV. There's so many ways to watch it. But what's really cool about it, more than just watching the fights, it's a very interactive pay-per-view. So, I get the opportunity, which is amazing, that I get to work with Hall of Fame legends in the sport with Pat and Jens and these guys. And you can actually, during the pay-per-view, go on live and ask them questions and interact with those commentary live. So if you've got a question about a submission or why the ref called this, or heck, if you got a question about, Pat, you ever going to fight again? It's cool because live during the show, you can actually speak with these guys. And so it's just another element to give excitement to the fans at home. I've learned that the majority of the fans come to these events for one particular fighter. So I think it's important, and I take a lot of pride in trying to really show all of the fighters and build a fan in that person. Not just a fan of maybe their nephew or their cousin. I'm trying to make them fans of the sport because I do love the sport. I'm heavily invested into it, and if it can be interactive like that, and you can talk to these guys that when I first got into it, I mean, I felt they were untouchable, man. They're legends to me. So it's cool that you could be sitting at home and just ask them a question live during the fight. But yeah, high definition. It's only $25 for the entire event, or you can do 35 for both nights. We give you a discount even. Yeah, just www.CagedAggressionTV. Anywhere you can type that in, and it's pretty simple.
$35 for both nights. I'm encouraging you to get both, guys. Seriously, what are you doing? You know you're staying in this weekend. So get it done. I love it, man. I love the passion. And again, we're going to encourage my audience throughout the weekend to tune in, and I look forward to it. I can't wait to be there. I got to tell you, again, these events are the highlight for me, and now they've taken away so much more. You know, it's just so wacky to me that we went to the Ridge just before this event, you know, talking about me getting involved, and I walked in there, and it was literally the first time I'd been into a bar where there wasn't something. So even after your event, when we went down to Ruby's, because you have those after fight parties, shout out to them, there was still plexiglass. You know, the bartender still had the mask on. I walk into this place, 50, maybe 70 people in there having dinner, nothing, no plexi. I'm like, yes, thank God. And now that's all been taken away. They've taken away. You got to close at 10 p.m. So guys, again, we got to resist. CagedAggression.tv. Mike, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, brother.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you.
Awesome. All right, guys. So CagedAggression.tv is where you're going to be able to find the pay-per-view. Again, this is more this to me is more than just about MMA. It's even more than about my first, gig doing this stuff, right? To me, again, you want pushback? You want push? This is how you do it. You say, we want to do events like we did, again, when everything was normal. Not Fauci's new normal, man. And I'm upset that, even the masks or the social distancing, or that he has to cut a 2,500 person crowd to like 800 or 600 people. That's nutty to me. So again, push back now. This is how you do it. I'm not even going to plug the other stuff other than Rockfin, which again, the reason I'm going to plug Rockfin is not only do you need the free account so you can watch my exclusives Monday through Friday with the free account, but they're heavily MMA based. We're streaming live there now as well, okay? I do my mixed martial mindset show, and they're not going to censor me. They're not going to take me off this platform for daring to tell you to go to what the media wants to describe as super spreader events. All right? It's a bunch of Johnny nonsense. I love you guys, and check back later because we're going to be live from the weigh-ins. I plan on streaming there. I'm going to pack some stuff up. I might even be in a little suit jacket there for you. And I'll see you soon. Let's do it.